So once again, welcome everyone for our second of probably more like 3 talks on all of the holy sites within Palestine and Israel, what we often refer to as the Holy Land. But since our trip to Egypt, I cannot think of the Holy Land and not include Egypt as well. Certainly, St. Catherine's is often a place of pilgrimage, even when people go to Palestine and Israel. But the rest of the sites that we saw in Egypt are just so much resemble everything else that we're seeing now. We started last week this, well, really 2 weeks ago, we had Dr. Maria Corey, and she gave us her experience of what it's like to be a Christian, a Palestinian Christian living in a predominantly Muslim and Jewish country that is constantly at war and still trying to live the faith. She shared about a few of the holy sites besides the town in which she lives in half of the year of Taipei, the ancient city of Ephraim. And that was a wonderful introduction. And last week we had Father Gerasimos, who has just an amazing, amazing memory. And it seems to me an inexhaustible encyclopedia of knowledge about the Holy Land. When he sees a picture and I say, oh yeah, I remember that wall, he has a paragraph or 2 paragraphs that he remembers about it. So he gave us a wonderful introduction. We didn't even make it through a third of all the pictures that we took of our trip from back in 2014. So that's where we're going to pick up tonight. He will be joining in at some point. He had paraclesis from 7 to 8, while we started here at 6 and finished at 7. So allow me now to share my screen. And let's hope this works right away. But you know what? I need to optimize for sound. Okay. And now I'm going to go to slideshow here. Is everyone seeing the slides or no? No, you're still seeing just the overall thumbnails again. All right, what did I do last time to get out of this? Let's go back to share. I had to go into a different slideshow, right? That's it. There we go. Now what are you seeing? Now you're seeing the pictures that I'm seeing. Okay.
Yes.
All right, good. So let's move ahead. Now, again, the tomb of St. George in the city of Lod or Joppa, where Christians often came in, a mosque. We were just talking about this today with Stacy Mason, who worked for IOCC for almost 20 years, I think, and spent a great deal of time throughout all of the Middle East and traveling in many Muslim countries where there is still Orthodox Christian presence. And she said it's a common thing throughout all of those places that wherever there's Christian churches, particularly churches of St. George, that the Muslims would build a mosque as well. And she said it was not only because of their reverence for St. George, but it was just a way of kind of controlling the Christians a little bit. So what we're seeing in these slides as they go by are the first of the places that we visited as pilgrims, that pilgrims would also come into the Church of St. George. Now we've moved on to another church that was more recently built, and this church was at the port of Joppa or Jaffa, and this was the place where pilgrims for centuries would come through, and we were seeing all these renovations. I'll go through all of these very quickly. And seeing the city walls. We changed our itinerary. We were not going to go to this portion of the pilgrimage until the 5th and the 6th days, but I guess we went to it earlier for some reason. It's the tomb of David. This is the tomb where the Mother of God was buried, visiting icon in that church of Saint Anna. So that not where the Mother of God was buried, where she died, the place where she reposed, and then she was carried to Gethsemane. Father explained all of this in much more detail, and I don't want to take too much time going back over all of it, but we're looking at views from either Mount Zion or from outside of the walls of Jerusalem. This is the home of the head of the Caiaphas, the high priest, where Jesus was tried and kept in these underground caves. We also spoke about these various. This is the location where Saint Stephen was stoned, and let's go back to that because today is the feast day of Saint Stephen. So we're looking at the rock. Let's go back to that one more time. We're looking at the rock upon which the actual stoning of Saint Stephen happened. What we celebrate today is not his stoning, which we celebrate on December the 27th, but the translation of his holy relics. And now we continued our journey. Here we are in the Mount of Olives. Here we are in the church built over the location where Jesus prayed and sweat blood at the night of his passion in the Garden of Gethsemane, the ancient floors. Here's the gate that Jesus passed through, that because he passed through it, it is kept, it's closed from this point on. More pictures from the Garden of Gethsemane. Here we are now in the Church of the Dormition of the Mother of God that I mentioned I would stop at earlier. So you can see this church had been built initially by St. Helen, but then it was destroyed. I'm looking for some of my notes that I might be able to read about this a little bit more. Gethsemane. So I don't remember exactly when it was rebuilt, but you can see the style of it is very Crusader-like. And there are a number of steps that you walk down with these many vigilants. And then you come to this location. This is actually from the side. When you look at it from the front, and it's more decorative today, you see an altar area, an icon, but this is the side view because the actual tomb is right in the middle here. So you go in from the other side here, and then you can pray in this area, and then you pass out this door, but you can look in through here and you can see the actual tomb of the Mother of God. And what you see here is many pieces of paper of people writing their prayer requests and just slipping them in. Another view of this church, the Dormition of the Mother of God. Look, you can see how it's an underground. It's many steps underground. It's a cave church in a way, because that's where they built their tombs, right? They dug the tombs out of caves in which to be buried, and they were very nice, and for those who could afford it, they were quite elaborate. And this was the tomb of Joachim and Anna that then the Mother of God was also buried in. Of course, it's been built upon since then to be this beautiful church. This icon, it's hard to get a really good appreciation of it, but it is like 2/3 the size of a door, right? It's huge. It's actually quite big. And I told the story last time of this being an icon called Akiro Pieto, an icon not made with hands. The Mother of God appeared to a nun at St. Mary Magdalene, and eventually left her this icon in her cell when she ran to tell the abbess that the Mother of God had come and had commissioned her in a way to make this icon. And this was in the 1880s, and it led to a reconciliation between the Russian Patriarchate and the Patriarchate of Jerusalem, which is also a very good thing. So here's outside of the tomb, of the Church of the Dormition of the Mother of God. And this is back. This is just a quick shot back at the place where Jesus prayed when he knelt. They call this also the Church of the Nations. And this is the location the Father explained was where Jesus ascended upon the donkey for his triumphant entry into Jerusalem. And the wonderful abbess who took care of us there. We spoke about all of these things a bit more. The Church of the Pater Nostrum, the Lord's Prayer, or the Our Father, where they have the Our Father printed in hundreds of different languages. Again, a Roman Catholic church. That's the icon of Saint Eulita and Kyrikos, who we have Saint Kyrikos in our altar. In here, the Church of Saints Constantine and Helen, one of the martyrs that consecrates our altar area. Now we're looking at, this is the location of where the Church of the Ascension is. That's the one remaining footprint of the two footprints that once were left on the ground when Jesus ascended into the air. And Father Gerasimos told that wonderful and very moving story about how he went to so many different places in the Holy Land, and wherever he venerated, it had the same holy aroma, and that was just the sign, this grace of the Holy Spirit kind of authenticating, all of these different sites. So this is what it looks like now. Once it was a huge, huge church that was an open air church. So you kind of see the walls around the back that were the outside of the church. This is the view looking across the Kidron Valley and the Valley of Jehoshaphat, where the Jews want to be buried because they expect the Messiah to come there. And we see the Dome of the Rock and many other things in the background. This is the little Galilee, which Father Gerasimos explained last time when Jesus said, go tell the disciples to go ahead and I'll meet them in Galilee. He didn't mean to go the 100 some miles away to the Sea of Galilee, and he would meet them there for the first time after the resurrection. So he did eventually meet them after the resurrection there when they did travel all the way back to Galilee. But in this particular location is where those who were from Galilee would camp when they had come up for the major feast like Pascha. And it was in this location that, okay, why is it not going? It was in that location where Jesus met the disciples for the first time after the resurrection. So, you could also make a case for it being in the upper room where he came to them as well. But this had, for some reason, this other location had the distinction. This is a monastery of Saint Gerasimos in the Palestinian desert, and it is also the location of a place where the Mother of God stopped with the Christ child on her way to Egypt. And there's very famous icon, Galactrophusa, the Galactrophusa icon of the Mother of God, the milk feeding icon of the Mother of God. We see this very unique image of Jesus breastfeeding, just like we sang a second ago in the hymn. Inexplainable wonder, how do you nurse the Master of all? Such a wonderful, it's just a wonderful monastery to visit at. There's a number of Romanian nuns there, very hospitable. And there's a lot of pilgrims, and I think Father was mentioning a lot of them from Cyprus that just go and live there for months at a time and help out and, acquire the holiness of the place rubs off, when you go and you just stay there like that for so long. Other places in and around that monastery. And this is where we left off last time. We were at the Jordan River. Presbyterian and I prepared to go into the Jordan River. And the first time I went to the Holy Land, I did not go into the water. I saw the joy and the thrill it brought to so many of the pilgrims that did go in. And I said, I'm not going to make that mistake again. And so when the second time Presbyterian came along, we got to go down into the water together. I was talking again, I mentioned Stacy Mason. We were talking over dinner tonight, and she said that she got an eye infection when she went down into the water that lasted for about 4 months. So the water is not the cleanest of water, even if it is holy. And we always, when we go to this site, we always bless it. We say the short blessing. We put the cross into the water. We baptize the cross 3 times, which is the action that we do whenever we have the great ayismo, the small ayismo, and we do it right there at that location. And then the pilgrims all go and dip themselves in. And it's the custom for the priest to stand in the water and to put your head down 3 times. And Father Gerasimos' mother was talking about how the water was extremely cold when we were there in February, extremely cold. But when you went in for a little while, something happened and you didn't notice the coldness at all. And I stayed in as long, if Father Gerasimos and I stayed in as long as anybody, and it hardly bothered us. I jokingly said it was probably because we were numb from the cold, but it was truly an unforgettable experience. And as I had mentioned last time, so meaningful that my wife intends to be buried in that robe when we bury her. So if some people wonder why she's wearing it, now you know. If for some reason you're at her funeral, hopefully that's not the case, and she outlives me and lives a long time. So here we are now, looking at, let's see, in our journey. If I might need to find my notes. I'm not Father Gerasimos. I can't look at a picture and say exactly what we're looking at right away. Okay. All right, what I think we're looking at is Cana, or perhaps Nazareth, one of those two, one of the two. This looks like it is. This is actually Mount Tabor. So this wasn't a picture of Mount Tabor, but a picture taken from Mount Tabor. That's right, overlooking in the direction of Cana of Galilee. And you can see from the top of Mount Tabor, the Nazareth, Cana of Galilee. You see some other cities that are in and around there too. It's a very historic area. One of the wonderful things, is everybody still with me, by the way? Can somebody just say something?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I can hear you, Father.
Am I coming through all right, volume-wise?
Yes.
Yep,
Perfect.
we hear you.
Great. I've just been talking, and then it struck me that I haven't heard any sounds, and that would be pretty sad if I had been talking to myself all this time. So this is a view as you take a taxi, small taxis up to the top of Mount Tabor. You can't drive even to like a minivan. They don't really have you go up. The roads are kind of narrow, very, very winding. People do come on the feast of the Transfiguration, which we will be celebrating this Sunday, right? Now they won't be celebrating this Sunday because the church in Jerusalem is on the old calendar. So their feast of the Transfiguration will be another 13 days. So it'll be on the Saturday, almost 2 weeks after this Sunday, when they'll be celebrating. But when they do celebrate, there's a huge throng of faithful and pilgrims that come. Many do walk all the way up from the bottom, although it takes quite a while to go from the bottom to the top. and the courtyard of the church is just filled with people. What I wanted to tell you, so this is outside as you enter into the courtyard of the Church of the Holy Transfiguration, and this is the view from the inside. So that's from as you're looking out, walking in the wall, and this is the view as you're looking in. And I'm going to stop here to tell the story that there are three major miracles that people often report experiencing that happen on pretty much a yearly basis. Not everybody experiences these miracles, but some do. And one of the miracles is, of course, the miracle of the Holy Fire, which we spoke about with Maria Curie. Another miracle that happens at the location of the Jordan River, and that is that when on January 5th, when the patriarch goes there and he reads the first of the great Ayasmo, blessings of the water, and he throws the cross into the water on the eve of the Feast of Epiphany, that the water itself, the current of the water changes direction. I haven't seen it, though I have seen videotapes of people watching it happen and crying out as they see like the current go in a different direction. But when I was actually there, and I was across the way on the Jordanian side, so I had an amazing view of the patriarch as he threw the cross in, and everything happening right in front of me. But I didn't see anything happen with the water. And the third miracle happens here at the Church of the Transfiguration on Mount Tabor. And this miracle has been attested to by so many pilgrims. And when I've gone there, I've often heard different stories of people seeing this particular miracle, which is during the vigil, during the night, in the middle of the night. It's sometime during the vigil, or sometimes it's after the vigil. Remember, I said there are hundreds and hundreds of pilgrims that will come up here. They may not even drive back down. They may just like go into cars or go and lie down on the ground outside after the services and so forth. And in the time when I first read about this, the pilgrims were also like doing cookouts in the middle of the night on and then partying a little bit. But then a cloud of light descends upon the monastery. And the story that I want to tell you, it was one of the last times I was there. And it was told to me by the brother of the abbot. The brother of the abbot was not necessarily a person who was a very faithful man or practicing Christian, but he had come to be with his brother, and he was there for the feast. And he said, because that happened, it's like changed his life, and now he just stays there at the monastery. And he couldn't tell the story to me and some of the others that of our group that were there without breaking down and crying again, just from how impactful it was to him. But he said he was here, and there was a large group of pilgrims that were inside of the courtyard, when all of a sudden he heard some of the pilgrims, speaking excitedly. And this doorway, right, this door that leads into the monastery, we're looking at it from the inside looking out, but in that archway, a cloud of light passed through that archway, came into the courtyard of the monastery, and covered the pilgrims that were outside of it. And what was so emotional for him was remembering and recalling the experience of the joy and the exuberance, the spiritual exuberance that the people had that were beholding this miracle. And that had happened like the year before. And so he had stayed from that time. We were there in February, and that had happened in August. And he was still there. And it just shows you can't judge a book by a cover too, because when I first walked into the monastery, he was kind of in this courtyard smoking a cigarette. And I thought, it's not a great way to enter into this holy place, but you never know what people actually what experiences are gonna have. The iconography in this church, the abbot in this church has done an awful lot and let's see if I can remember his name quickly, or if I can turn to it quickly. Let's see. Tabor, page 13 and 14. His name, I think, is Father Ilarion. So the Mount Tabor is in the Jezreel Valley, and it is the base of the site of Armageddon, which is also referred to in the book of the Apocalypse, Revelation 16:16. Over the centuries and centuries, many wars have occurred here, and thus there are bones of saints and martyrs and people who have suffered for God scattered throughout this region. It was also here where God told Ezekiel to proclaim to the dead bones. He gave him the vision. He told Ezekiel to tell those dead bones to arise up. So under the holy altar inside of this church, there is a rock, and it's upon that rock that Jesus stepped during the transfiguration. That rock has now been moved to this location right here. So now in this picture here, you're seeing the icon, and you're seeing where the rock is. Actually, no, it's not that. This is an icon on the left-hand side, and one I wanted to show you is on the right-hand side. I don't know if I have a picture of it or not. It's kind of behind me where I'm reading the gospel right here. But in this icon has a miraculous. This icon is just like a cloth icon that's been put into the proskyneitarion here, and many, 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 many miracles have happened in front of this icon. And there's a whole story which I'm not going to remember really well to tell, but how this icon kind of washed up on the shore. Somebody had rolled it up and put it into some type of a container to spare it from it being desecrated at some point, and it made its way to the Transfiguration, and now it is one of the treasures of the monastery. But the iconography itself in this monastery is absolutely gorgeous. And I believe it was Romanian iconographers who put the iconography in here. And oh, you know what? I'm realizing that I perhaps did not share with Father Gerasimos the link. So let me do that really quickly right now, because he might be trying to join and unable to, because I don't have him on the normal list. Let's see if you happen to send me a text message. No text, but let's make certain that he's going to be able to join us. So be patient with me, everybody, while I find the link. Let me just go to the sent. Here we go. And forward to FRG, right? Here is the link. Quickly. Okay. So what I wanted to say about this particular picture is it is an example of what we do when we go to these various places of veneration, these various churches or smaller proskyneitaria. And what the pilgrim practice is to gather together in the church first, once we've maybe venerated icons and lit candles as we've gone in, but then to gather together in the church. And we have a short petition where we say, what we start with is a reading of the passage of scripture that pertains to that location. And so something like this, I was reading one of the accounts of the Transfiguration. Then we sing the hymn of the Transfiguration, and then we say a series of petitions asking God's blessings upon the pilgrims that come there, upon the abbot or abbess of the monastery, and the brotherhood or the sisterhood of the monks or the nuns that are caring for these locations, or whoever it may be that that is there. And then the pilgrims will often, well, let's see if I can go back, will often come up to a place where, if you see, can everyone see the pointer? I'm putting it in the middle of the screen right now. Now, if you look over here, you see this little glass right here. That's a votive lamp. And so after we read the gospel and we said those prayers, everyone passed by, and the priest anoints them with oil from a vigil lamp from one of the over one of the icons, or over the relics, or somehow one of the saints. So this is often the practice that we do, and then we spend time walking around the place, talking to the people that are there, looking at the bookshops and so forth. This is a picture of I think it's their on the we're still on the Mount of Tabor at the Transfiguration Monastery, and these are kind of garden areas that they have. And you see this circle right here, this taf, and this the phi letter and the taf letter, and phylakes tompadion tafon is what that stands for. These are the protectors of the tomb. That's what the whole brotherhood of monks and sisterhood of nuns who take care of all of these locations. That's the special title that they have. That the Patriarch of Jerusalem says that, unlike other patriarchates, that a major purpose of its existence is to preserve these sites for Christians from all over the world to be able to come. So the monks and the nuns who often that come from other countries, often they've gone as pilgrims, not intending to stay, but moved by God, called by God, ended up staying and even getting tonsured and becoming monastics. They are the ones that make it possible for the rest of us to still go and visit these holy places. So see some of their fruit trees, very bountiful. You see the vision, the view, like I said before, is an amazing view from this monastery all over. There's a lot more history about. So from the mountain, you can see Nazareth and Naim. So I think in this picture here, we're probably looking towards Nazareth. Leaving the monastery and heading south, we encounter the village of Dabori, where the judge Deborah asked help from Zebulun and Naphtali, Judges chapter 4. And with Barak defeated Sisera, the Canaanite, which was right next to Mount Tabor. So, as I said, there's a tremendous amount of history that's just buried underneath one layer after another of biblical history in these places. St. Helen built this original church in 337. It was destroyed in the 1100s, and a new church was built, dedicated to the 12 apostles on one side, Transfiguration in the middle, and Moses and Elijah on the other in 1854. Also, and that's this location that we're looking at right here, I believe, there's the cave of Melchizedek, where Abraham met Melchizedek, that location where Abraham met Melchizedek. So we're talking 2,000 years, or however long that is before Christ, recorded in the book of Genesis, chapter 14, verses 18 to 20, and also referenced in Hebrews, chapter 7, 1 and 2. At the time that it was, when it was destroyed, there were about 54 monks that were living on the monastery, but they were all killed by the Arabs. So the grounds are full of the bones of relics of people that have died for Christ. And now we are moving on to a city street. I'm not exactly certain which city. My guess is we went from there into Nazareth. Let's see. Yes. All right. So now what we're at is the location of the huge Roman Catholic basilica that's built over the location where the Holy Family lived in Nazareth, where Jesus grew up. And let's see if what this sign on, can I zoom in on this? it's not allowing me to go any closer. Okay, Father Gerasimos is joining in. Hooray. I don't know why I'm not seeing everybody, but I'm going to stop sharing for the moment, except I'm afraid that might also throw this off. But maybe not. Stop sharing so we can welcome Father Gerasimos. Hello, Daniela. It's so good to see you back on with us. Hope you're doing well. I don't see Father Gerasimos. I said yes for him to join, but it doesn't look like he joined in. So hopefully he'll try again. Let's just wait and give him a moment to join in, and then we can go back into the slideshow, because I'm just afraid it might keep getting kicked out of it. And maybe I need to change something in the view.
Can you text him, Father? Do you have his text number? Just to see if he got kicked out and try again?
Yeah.
Because he could be waiting there, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see, it's not showing anybody on my screen, but I will text him. Good idea, Sula. Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
What would I do without all of you?
And then what would we do without you? That's the question.
You'd have another priest. That's
no, we need you, Father.
Okay, it's not coming up as a text message. Oh, you know why I can't text him? Because he only has like a flip phone and a landline, so he doesn't. He hasn't given me his, but I can call the number that I do have for him. Let me just get that up real quickly. There he is. I am well. I saw that you tried to enter, but we don't see you. Can you try again? Oh no. You're doing the same thing that you did last time when you were able to get in? Okay, we'll keep a watch out for you. Thank you. Bye. So it kicked him out for some reason. He doesn't know why. He doesn't have really strong Wi-Fi right there, but he's trying to enter in again. So we'll go back into the screen, go back to photo. All right. And what we're seeing here, this picture here, I don't have, maybe I have more pictures inside, but this picture here is a large Roman Catholic church built over the home of Joseph and Mary in Nazareth, where Jesus grew up. This picture is outside of the door of the synagogue that's built on the location. It's not the actual synagogue, which is below it, directly below. You know, they'd have to do an archaeological dig to go down, but it's built on the location of the synagogue where Jesus, when he came to Nazareth, when he came back to Nazareth, preached. This is a picture of that current church that's being used. I forget what religious group has this church, but this is built over the location where Jesus spoke about. You know, they wanted, Jesus first read the gospel, and everyone said, what wonderful words. But then they said, where did this man get all this learning? Because we know who his father is. We know who his brothers and sisters are. And, of course, they're talking about the stepchildren of Joseph. And they were wanting him to do the same kind of miracles that he had done in other places. And he instead says back to them, how God's grace only worked in ancient times for people that were even foreigners, because the Jews didn't have the faith. And so it was basically an explanation of why he would not be able to do many miracles. And so what they did is they took him from the synagogue to the wall, that there was a precipice on the side of the city, in order to throw him down from there. And of course, as we know, it says in the gospel, it wasn't his time, so he simply passes through in the middle of them, like he becomes invisible, and he just passes through. Here's the picture now. Now we're in the church, the Roman Catholic Church, and we're looking into the location of the home, believed to be the place where Jesus and Mary and Joseph lived. You can see like the primitive church on the top. Is everybody seeing this picture?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. When you pass by, you stay very quiet and you don't say much. But here's a closer up of it, and you can see. Yay! Looks like Father's joining. Let's hope he gets in this time. And you can see some mosaic kind of work here of a more primitive church. Father Gerasimos, is that you?
I decided to use this way, talk, and if you want me to, and I can I can use my computer. I can use my computer to mother computer to see.
Good thinking. Good thinking. Yeah, no, we hear you loud and clear. Are you seeing the picture right now? Or are you still signing in with your other?
My tablet I cannot, so I can see the pictures that you're doing.
Okay. We are right now in Nazareth and looking at the dwelling where 14 kilometers north of Bethlehem, where Jesus lived, the house of Joseph and Mary, the Catholic Basilica of the Annunciation, the massive Catholic Basilica. I just told them we looked at the place where the synagogue, the location where the original synagogue was underneath, and what had happened then. So take it from here, Father, if you want to, or we can keep going back and forth.
We can tag team like we did last time. I think it was good.
Okay, so now we've kind of passed by from one side to the other, and you see what it looked like. This is more okay. Now this is no longer the Roman Catholic location where they believe the Annunciation happened. This is now the Orthodox location where we believe the Archangel Gabriel came to the Virgin Mary first when she was at a well. And if you see these here, this is actually showing so you can look down and you can see the stream of that fresh water that comes from within this church and passes down through and into the city. The people still use that water to this day for their daily needs. But this is the Orthodox location of the Annunciation. We went into this church, and you can see the ornate and very old iconostasis, and we of course read the Gospel of the Annunciation in here. Anything you want to add, Father?
So, Father, I think I got in normally.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I'm hanging up. So I'm only talking this way now. Okay, that's good.
That's fine. We hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. All right. So I got distracted. Just continue.
Okay. So this is the Greek Orthodox Church of Nazareth, dedicated to the Archangel Gabriel, originally built by St. Helen in 325. The Crusaders rebuilt it in the 12th century. The Orthodox rebuilt it in 1734, and an extension was made in 1766 by the Orthodox locals. So when you walk in, the church is actually on your right-hand side. And then this is what you see if you look straight ahead. And what this is this is a long corridor that leads down to there. Here's the view of the church on the right. And then this is the view of the corridor that as you walk down, you can see it's more ancient structure. And this leads to the well where the Virgin Mary was when the archangel first appeared to her to announce to her the good news. And so you see the icon right here of the Annunciation. This icon on the back wall is even, let's see if I have a close-up picture of it. No, I don't. There's Father Gerasimos with our dear friend Julie Tsiolis.
Oh, Julie.
Yeah. This tells a little bit of the history, right? Of
The previous picture you had there, the previous picture, the one right there, yeah, that is the staircase, the old staircase that Panagia probably took down. Remember all the wells and all these things.
Right.
So think about it, that Panagia actually walked down here. According to the Orthodox tradition, actually, I was reading a book recently, but there's probably two places Panagia. When Panagia first met the angel was here at the well, and then afterwards at the home itself. So you can see the icon of the Archangel Gabriel speaking to Panagia, and it's a very unique icon because if you really see carefully, that within Panagia's belly, the one that you just had, see right there, right there, that white thing. If you had a zoom, it's the actually go back to the icon, the one that you're picking up before, right there. Right there, there's a little white shadow in Panagia's belly. That's Jesus Christ. So it shows that with the incarnation, with the message of the angel, and with her saying yes, that there was the becoming of the incarnation. So it's not just simply the place of the Annunciation. I think it's also the beginning of the Word of God becoming incarnate. I think that's
here's the icon close up.
Okay, so you can see the icon there. You see how there's baby Jesus in her. So that's very beautiful. And of course, as a side note, when people talk about abortion, it's like inconceivable as Orthodox Christians to accept abortion, because once a person is conceived, it's fully the person. So Jesus Christ was fully with the Virgin Mary, just like everybody within their moms are a fully human being.
What's so remarkable to me, Father Gerasimos, is I had parishioners in Holy Cross in Strasbourg that grew up in Nazareth. This was their home church, and one of the two couples was married in this very church. And it blows my mind to think that they would go to church every Sunday at the location where the greatest miracle of all time happened. And that is when he who stands outside of time and space, the second person of the Holy Trinity, Christ, the pre-eternal Logos, enters into time and space. And to just go to church in a place where that happened blows my mind. Totally blows.
And speaking about parishioners, one thing was beautiful about that parish is it's an active parish. So it's not just simply, we talked about last time.
Right.
That's usually there might be one, there might be one monk. But here it's an active parish. They're Arab-speaking Christians, but Arab-speaking Christians also consider themselves Greek Orthodox. And actually, there was, I don't know if you were on our group together, but it was like this person here was an excellent chanter. And they started chanting both in Greek and in Arabic and so forth. So it's a nice place to visit in Nazareth.
And now we've moved on to the Sea of Galilee.
Is this the first picture of the Sea of Galilee that you have?
Yes.
Okay, yes, exactly. This is a phenomenal place, okay? And this is actually the sunrise, right? Sunrise.
Sunrise. Yes. And I think we're at the church. Oh, well, this must have been the hotel that we were staying at that year.
Yeah, Father never went to the churches. He just hang out at the hotels in the resort. So yeah, so actually that's the Golan Heights that used to be part of the Palestinian places, not anymore. So this is the Golan Heights and this is where on the opposite side, on the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee, that is where the place the Gagarenes was, where the pigs ran down the hill. So actually you can kind of see the hill. And you can see the sea is very, very peaceful and calm. So when you think about Jesus Christ on this sea is where he actually walked on the waters. It was here that he calmed the storms. I happened to be once when it was a very stormy day. So so when you see this, you say, what storm here? But because there's a gap in between the mountains, the winds can come and storm, make a storm in this beautiful sea here.
Right, it can become very treacherous very quickly.
Yeah,
even
so of
though
course, in the ocean lines here, it's usually little sailboats and little fishermen boats. By the way, they still fish here, and this is still a sea. I would say a freshwater lake. Thank you. Okay.
There we go. This father.
Hey, who are these people? They look familiar.
I think this is the church of the location of the Sermon on the Mount, right?
Yes, so this is the Beatitude area. This is the Roman Catholic have this, but again, there's remnants of the Orthodox Church used to be here, and this is a phenomenal place to visit. And both of Father and I were reading the actual chapters 5, 6, and 7 of the chapter of Matthew, Gospel of Matthew, and really being here, you can imagine just the booming voice of Jesus Christ and how there's 5,000 people probably, because it was the continuation of the Sermon on the Mount that the people were hungry afterwards and they were fed. So think about Jesus Christ as this
There
beautiful
he is.
offering his sermon.
And he was sitting down, authority.
Yeah, so in ancient times, when we normally go to hear someone speak, they stand and we sit. But in ancient times, it was the other way around. The person who was to speak would sit, and everyone else would stand. Now, this is the location of the multiplication of the loaves and the fish, right, Father?
Yes, it is. I think it's called Topgot.
Yeah.
And it's also called the place of five. There's 5 springs here. I heard burned down recently. And this is a great example, that previous picture, you see, that's a great example how you can see the previous one, or the one that not the one with the chart there, the chart. The one, yeah, that one. You see, that's a very example that anything the Roman Catholic have, because it's also, I think the Lutherans have this one, but you can see the original floor plan of the Byzantine church, and then and afterwards the from 350, 480, 614. So whatever they have here, it's always built on the ruins of Byzantine churches, either from St. Helen herself or from afterwards. Which it's nice when you go there and you realize, you know what, these are our places as Orthodox Christians, and it really, really makes you proud and responsible for these places.
So we actually got to do, and the Arteclasia service, the nun allowed us to do it close to where this table is right here. There is a mosaic on the floor which show the multiplication of the loaves and the fishes, and we were this close to it, and we're able to read that service and distribute the bread, which is a really awesome thing.
It is very moving, yes. I thank Father John Lardis, because I think he was the first one who actually did that. So I said, oh, that's a great idea. We should be doing that. So to actually do that, because I never thought about it. So
And
that's
we
great.
took the rolls from the hotels because we didn't know what to find.
Yeah,
bread.
those were
right.
all the hotels.
We didn't have our own Arteclasia, so that's what we used. Here's one of the nuns that takes care, and she was blessing on the stone, believed to be the place where Jesus stood. She was blessing things for us on that stone. I don't know if it was a prayer ropes. She's got a prayer rope, my prayer rope in her hand, and that's my petrahili.
Oh, yes.
Very
the red
beautiful.
one. Peacocks. Floating.
These are imitations
Church.
of,
Church built at the time of St. Helen, right?
yes. So either these are imitations or the original floors. These are very typical of ancient floors, both ancient Greek floors and Roman floors would have these decorations and animals and plants. These are very typical decorations of floors, which shows the antiquity of these places. And actually, you see, if you look in there's like a glass floor thing on the left.
That's
You
the
see,
original
so
floor.
that's, if you look in there, the original floor is. So what you see on top is copies of the real floor.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's very typical. We see that most in Thessaloniki and other places like that. So the real floor is because as years go by, we do that in our church. Oh, let's just put a new floor in, whatever the case can be. So as years go by, the church moves up, but the original floor is all the way down. Sometimes after, and think about it, 16th centuries. So it could be at least 3, 4, 5 floors on top of each other through the centuries. This is also a very beautiful place. This is it's a Roman Catholic area where it's the primacy. They call it primacy of Pope. I mean of Peter, and we know the Roman Catholics emphasize the primacy of Peter. He was the first of the disciples. However, they really overemphasize it. But supposedly this is where Peter is given the authority to be the first. And it was probably here, and correct me, Father, that Jesus Christ called Peter and Andrew and James and John at this point here. Is that correct?
I believe so. I'm looking in your notes right now.
Okay. Well, it's okay. If it's not exact this place here, it's somewhere around here. So it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. Yeah. And Capernaum is called the town of Jesus because when Jesus Christ was almost killed in Nazareth, because remember he returned to Nazareth, and it says, and you already showed the synagogue, I believe so, right? That which was a very moving place, the synagogue, but he was taken to the brow of the city. And therefore, after that, Jesus Christ spent a lot of time in Capernaum, which is also the place where Peter and I think Andrew was from Capernaum, and Peter's mother-in-law, and Peter's house was here in Capernaum. And this is the remnants of the house of Peter. So that this is where Peter's mother-in-law was healed.
And across they have the synagogue.
And again, you can see the remnants, and so they have these things which they want to validate their location, but if anything, to validate that these belong to the Orthodox people.
Yeah, so it doesn't come through really well in this picture here, but there's actually 3 churches, one inside of the other. And I think the first church was hexagonal, and then the next church copied that similar shape with the little home of Peter's mother in the very middle. And I think that's a little further in here. It's just not showing in the picture.
It's very hard to take it. And on top of this, they built this very modern, horrible Roman Catholic church, which was built on stilts so that you can actually be right on top of the old house of Peter. And again, there's an emphasis of Peter being the primacy and so forth. And that's the reason why. But that was their intent.
So you can see in this picture here, the original dwelling, and then the 5th century octagonal church, a 4th and something from the 4th century. That's the octagonal church, the 4th century Domus Ecclesia, and what it looks like today. I don't know if we have a picture of the outside. This is the synagogue in Capernaum, right?
Go back to the other slide, the one with the red dome. Right, you had it. Did you go? No, the one there was a red dome right there. No, forward.
This is the church.
Right there. So you see that wall there? So go back. Where is it? There, right there.
That's the synagogue.
So that right behind there, the Capernaum is divided in the ancient and then the Roman Catholic section, and then we have a little section right behind that wall, which is the Orthodox Church of the Apostles. You'll probably see it later on. But you see how close it is, the Church of the Apostles, which is the Church of the Red. And here's the archaeological area of Capernaum. So Capernaum is all archaeological area right now.
And isn't this church built, the Orthodox Church built on the location of the home where Jesus healed the person who was carried by the 4 men, the paralytic, that they opened up the roof of the home and let the paralytic down, and Jesus.
Exactly. I'm assuming you'll probably see it closer on, but just the reason why I want to emphasize it is how close it is to this Capernaum site. So we're just outside of this archaeological area. So I say these things because these places are real. They're not just simply, well, let's just pop a church here. Okay. All these things are historical and as accurate as possible.
You can see over the centuries how elaborate the structures were built to. No, I think all of these are from the synagogue, though, aren't they?
All these things are from Capernaum, and from this is just different buildings of Capernaum, but the synagogue is also, and the synagogue is very, very important. If you move forward, you probably see it in a few slides. All these are Capernaum. Here goes the synagogue.
This is the synagogue.
And this
which is right
synagogue is
across from the
super,
synagogue.
super important. And if you look at the columns, they're written in Greek and I think Latin and so forth. So again, we should be proud that it's written in Greek, okay? But I love this synagogue here, right in Capernaum, because this is the place where Jesus Christ spoke in the Gospel of John and says that I'm the bread of life, okay? And that truly my flesh is food. And and a lot of people got scandalized because of that. In fact, then some of the disciples, not the 12, decided to stop following Jesus Christ in that. But here at this temple, in the synagogue in Capernaum, is where Jesus Christ said those beautiful words that I'm the bread of life.
Is it John chapter 8 or something?
I think John chapter 6.
6, yeah. So you can sit down on some of these stones that who knows who sat on those stones before.
Maybe Jesus Christ himself.
Yeah.
That's his wife.
So we're at the entrance of this whole archaeological site. And now we're going to the Orthodox site, I believe. No, we're going to the boat ride.
In the Sea of Galilee.
So they asked us to what flags you want to put on. And of course, Greek has to go up. Okay. And they want to play Greek music, but in this group we said no, right? I think we didn't play Greek music.
Oh, the fish.
And this is my mom, by the way, this is my mom in the
I'm
background.
here, Father,
Okay.
you know me. I'm
Yes. Good to hear you, Stella. So what?
Father Theodore. Oh my God.
One of the things that is so special about this boat ride is that you stop at some point on the sea, and we take turns reading the different miracles. Different people in the group get to read different miracles that Jesus performed while on the sea, the calming of the sea, the walking on the water, the great catch of fish, all of these things. And it just blows your mind because you and like Father was saying last week, you never forget this. If anyone has seen my phone, my background on my phone, which I'm not going to show you right now, so I don't want to lose the picture, is the Sea of Galilee. It's from the Church of the Holy Apostles that we were just looking at with that big red dome looking out. Because it just is so, it makes the Gospels become so much closer to us when you actually see the sea. And then we went for lunch, and this is the famous St. Peter's fish, right?
Yes, and the reason why it's called Peter's fish would be, of course, because Peter was a fisherman with Andrew and James and John. But also, once you open right like on the skull area, that if you take it apart, it looks like Jesus Christ crucified. So I don't know if we have a picture of that, but
yeah, I don't think I have one, but
Okay, because Father
Yeah.
ate the fish, bones and all. Okay. Just kidding.
So is this the land of the Gadarenes, or is this something else?
Well, I'm not sure where we are, but is this a hotel? Looks like a hotel we are here.
Yeah.
Yes, and the gatherings.
I don't remember that one. I can't remember that.
Here we're in Cana now.
Yep.
In Cana.
So Cana is now southwest of the Sea of Galilee. And there's an Orthodox area and a Catholic area, but we have the real area. And there's two out of the 6 stone jars. And if you notice that they are surrounded by plastic glass.
Guess why,
And the
Father?
reason why is because of my mom. Because when the first time I went there was no plastic glass, but my mom was disobedient and not listening to the priest who says, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch. So ever since then, they
I
have
touched them.
a glass thing around them,
And
okay?
ever since then, they made this glass petition so nobody can touch them, but I touched them.
All the married couples of our group came forward, and Father Gerasimos read a wonderful prayer for us. And we kind of, it's almost like a renewing of your vows. It's really, really very special. There's
Yes,
the husbands and the wives.
Was Maria Zita there, Father?
yes, it was.
Where is she?
Anything on this trip, okay.
Not on this.
Yeah,
trip.
so that was
She's
great.
at
That's great. And
Mariposa.
also you can buy wine from there. They sell wine as a fundraiser for the actual place. And
That's
So people
grown in
buy-
the vineyards nearby.
people usually use them for weddings. So like if your child is getting married or, if a young person, people buy wine. So they sell them. They might have some bottles down there also. You see them just for blessings.
Right.
I like a cute couple. Okay.
Here's the priest monk who's there with his mother. Do you remember his name, Father? Was it Chrysostomos or?
No, I'm horrible with names. Yes, the priest now is a little bit on the rude side because they're human beings too. Sometimes they're tired of all the visitors, whatever the case may be. So it's not the same one anymore. And sometimes you might experience that, but remember, no one is perfect except Father Theodore. But sometimes we have personalities. So
This is Father Dorotheos.
Dorotheus, okay.
He was fairly nice.
No, he was nice. Yes, yes.
And now this is the church where
yeah.
Jesus was directed the disciples to go out and throw the net, the great catch, right?
And there's Peter.
If
This is in the city of Capernaum, is it?
in Tiberias, in the city of Tiberias.
Not Tiberias. And this church actually kind of goes out over the water, right?
Yes. There's 2 churches called that of the apostles. One is the church, one the Red Dome, and the other one is the monastery in Tiberias. So it could become a little bit confusing. Both of them are called the apostles. I think this is the one that is in Tiberias, that the altar is in the water, as you said. And this is where Jesus Christ met the disciples after the resurrection. After the resurrection, when the disciples probably wanted to go back to their business. Actually, this one probably is the red apostles because they had a beautiful iconography. So just continue showing where these icons are. It's one of the 2. One is the miracle of after the resurrection when Jesus Christ ate with his disciples with 153 fish. But I'm going to stop here because I'm not quite sure. I think this is the Red Dome Church, right, Father?
Yeah, I think we're back in Capernaum.
Yeah.
And we had liturgy there.
Yes, we did. Also, in the icons, there's also local icons. So besides the saints that we know, like Saint Demetrius, Saint Paraskevi, Saint Barbara, they might have some of the local saints like Saint Procla, who was the wife of Pilate. And
Right. She's like up above here, isn't she?
Yes.
You should have a picture of Procla because I fell in love with her.
And you can see the symbol of Phylakis Lutafu on the cloth right there. You see right on the left
Yeah.
side. So it's a top and a fi for those who know Greek. And that's the Phylakis Lutafu, you can just say it. So, and they have a cross or some pendant in front of it.
Yeah, we serve that liturgy together, Father.
It was a beautiful opportunity. I think that's course now. Yes.
He looks like Costa Calquera every
Yeah.
time I see him, even with a bowl. I thought it was Costa. What you said.
So, there goes
That's
Same that same
There's-
Procla right there.
There's Saint Procla.
Yeah. So that's definitely a unique icon there. And a lot of the icons also reflect where we're at. So you can see the icon I just talked about the resurrection, where Peter fell into the water, and Jesus Christ has the fire ready on the shore. You see right to the right of that, the fire, and they caught 153 fish. So you see a lot of like scenes that you probably won't see in other churches because they're the local scenes of what happened in these places.
This church has peacocks all over the place, and they kind of live in the trees too, don't they, Father?
They do, like in Monivlatadon, before they put them in cages. Yeah.
And this is a little walkway that goes right down to the water.
Yeah. The whole area by the Sea of Galilee is phenomenally beautiful. Even like, just you want to go like for vacation, but you don't feel comfortable vacationing because it's a holy site. So you will not feel comfortable just go swimming,
So
That
if we go in February into March, we definitely will be able to come and visit this site as well, and hopefully we'll have lunch on that very same table by the Sea of Galilee. It's a really special place.
It is a beautiful place, yes.
When we take the OCF groups here, this is one of the places we just stop and we just let them be on the water and on the rocks by the water, and it just, yeah, you can't explain what happens when you just sit there, other than it's like it all sinking in, more fully.
It's surreal.
It is. Somebody said that. Somebody asked a while back, Sula, about the icon of the Annunciation, that there appeared to be a figure reaching out to the Archangel Gabriel from the Panagia. I don't remember that. I don't think we can go back at this point. Father, do you remember anything about that particular icon?
Yeah, I don't remember any figure pulling out to Saint Gabriel or the Archangel Gabriel. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, if at the end of the presentation, maybe we can go back to it. And
Okay.
I can show you.
Christ child
Good thinking.
inside her.
Besides the Christ child inside of her. So this
Okay.
now is outside of Jericho, right? This is the monastery of the Temptation on the Mount of Temptation.
So just to get a reference of Jericho, so if you continue the Sea of Galilee on the south side empties into the Jordan River, and then at around 60 miles, the Jordan River becomes the national borderline between Israel and the country of Jordan. And where we had got to the baptismal site, that is more or less the latitude line where Jericho is. Jericho is the lowest city in the world, 400 meters below sea level. And west of Jericho, you see this first hill that eventually is the ascent up to Jerusalem, which is around 10 miles west of that. So right above Jericho is the Mount of Temptation, where Jesus Christ, after he was baptized, he went exactly west to the Mount of Temptation, which is what you're seeing now here. And this is where he stayed for 40 days. The tram car that goes up halfway is a new addition. And by this you climb up, and this is like a monastery, Orthodox monastery. There's only one monk here. I think it was Father Gerasimos, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And from here, as you know, it's really beautiful views, and it's the place where Jesus Christ had the I think the second temptation. Well, two of the temptations happened here. One of them, Jesus Christ was transported to Jerusalem, and says, "If you're truly the Son of God, jump off the pinnacle." But here, two of the temptations happened. One is where he showed them all the kingdoms. So you kind of see the height, where you can see kind of this is Jericho below us, and also where he told them to change the stone into bread. So we can see Jericho, and the opposite mountain across that's the country of Jordan.
This is inside of the monastery. Amazing, built into the side of the mountain. But
Yeah.
this monastery was built more recently, right, Father? It wasn't one of the earliest of.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. That I do not know. Definitely is impressive though.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
this.
I cannot say. I don't know that
I don't
history.
remember any of the stuff.
I'm looking in my notes, but I'm not finding.
Yeah, I don't remember that. This is looking straight down, so it's kind of hard, but this is like if you jump off the balcony, this is like straight down. Okay, that's it's right really on a cliff.
There's the
And this
priest.
was-
You know, he has reposed in the Lord now, but the last couple of years before he reposed, there was a man that first came as a pilgrim and he stayed. I think he was like a he was some type of a doctor or therapist, physical therapist, and he took the monk Onufrios, and now he's there. So there's a young monk there now who's watching over this place. One monk watching over a place that, you know, hundreds of monks could have been at one point.
right. The rock you saw before is the actual place that Jesus Christ was tempted by the evil one. So it's kind of like it's under a little altar area. And this is probably where Jesus Christ was sitting when the devil told him to turn the bread, the stone into a bread. And Jesus Christ responded, "Man does not live by bread alone." And this is the church. So this really, the church looks much older than the rest of the monastery. I would release that to that point, Father.
Yeah. Yeah. Seems like you gave me many more chances to read the gospel in the churches than I gave you.
Because I stutter, that's why, and I got a bad accent. Not accent,
Yeah. Well, tell me
but yeah,
about it.
nice, clear enunciation. That's the reason why. And I love you too.
I walked into that one.
So
So sometimes, you know, the Father Gerasimos here, he was getting quite old, and he would get, if he saw something happening that he wasn't happy about, he'd get a little bit ornery, and it just
he
reminds you
definitely
how
was sharp around the edges, but I liked him. He was like, you know, like the rude priest, you know, like sometimes that you encounter. He was just
Right.
old-fashioned, you know, like just to the point. Okay, no filter. It was more like that. But I felt he was a holy man, but with just, you know, the
right.
old-fashioned.
That's what I wanted to say, that their crustiness still somehow had it was that prophetic kind of call that the monastics have, not to take ourselves too seriously, not to let our egos get the best of us. You know, we're in this life just to be humbled.
That's right.
This is a cave that's inside of that monastery where you could crawl in. This is what it was on the inside, and some of our younger pilgrims would go in and pray the Jesus prayer in there.
Yeah, so think about, these are the old cells and chapels in the old inside.
Built into the side of the mountain.
There's also, if I remember correctly, there was also a mill inside.
Yeah.
And grind their wheat and so forth.
Look at how close the wall is in their cells. You can see almost the entire of the promised land from there. You see Mount Nebo, right? Don't you?
So yeah, that is Mount Nebo across on the other side, exactly. Mount Nebo is the mountain that Moses, he never was allowed to go into the promised land. So he was on the other side, which was the Jordanian side. Back then it was probably called Moab, I think, or Ammonites. And so therefore he was never able to cross the Jordan River. Between us and the mountain across the other side, there's the Jordan River. And you can see the green, a little bit like what the green line that goes across. That's the Jordan River, because it allows to it waters the plants.
Vegetation.
Vegetation, exactly. So he saw the promised land facing the other way.
Yeah.
Got himself there.
This is the tree in Jericho. It's kind of late at night, but we went and visited the tree in Jericho that's Zacchaeus, the sycamore tree.
Yes.
And Zacchaeus became the Holy Apostle Zacchaeus, who was a bishop in Caesarea later on in his life.
So again, a very typical, like, local icon there. So you never see it anyplace else. Okay, Caesarea is from when we saw Joppa, about 15 miles north of Joppa, Tel Aviv area. That's where Caesarea was. That's where became a bishop, coastal. And you can see again the Filikis of Tafu symbol on the bottom.
So, Father, it's been about an hour and a half since we started.
Okay, so, yeah, whenever you want to finish, that's, we can finish. We can just see the old mosaics again. How if under the floor you can see the old mosaics. Are we in coming to Bethlehem now? It looks like Bethlehem.
I think we are in
Yeah.
Bethlehem, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
this
look
is
at
a good place to
Bethlehem.
stop.
Okay, so
Let's
let's
stop.
start Bethlehem.
We'll stop here and pick up next time. Okay, everybody. Look, we got more people than when we started. Stacy,
Very good.
welcome. Thanks for joining us. I actually shared a couple of stories that we talked about this afternoon.
Oh, nice.
Father Gerasimos, do you know Stacy Mason? She worked for many years for IOCC, worked under Jerry Trandafilou, or Dean Trandafilou.
I'm bad when it comes to
Okay.
these things. Sorry. I mean, when you call me up, it says Theodore Petridis who, and then after so it took me some time to get to. No, I'm just kidding. But I am bad. I don't have that gift. But
Okay, I'd say we're
Thank you
about
for working out.
2/3 the way through now
Okay.
of our pictures, and so hopefully next week we'll finish up. But Father, it's so great having you with us. Does anybody have any last questions before we finish? Oh, Sula, you wanted to go back to the icon?
Yeah, do we have time?
Let's just do it.
Okay.
Do I
Let me
join
share.
you Father, also on the 9th? Or you don't want me? You got bored of me because I stutter.
Yeah, no, we want you. What do you say, Father?
Okay. Stacy was offended because I forgot her name.
No. I don't have that gift either. So don't worry. I can
Okay,
empathize.
very good.
Unfortunately, this is the only way,
Nora,
that I'm showing these slides, that we can go back to that icon. But so give me a minute.
It's Holy Line in 60 seconds. Okay.
Capernaum, Mount of Olives. Okay, up there we went back.
Okay,
You
okay.
bypassed it.
So stop us when you want.
There it is.
Sula.
Okay. Well, maybe it was just in my pic. I took a picture. Okay. All right, I see where Jesus is. Okay. Now, if you go like towards the upper left of where Jesus is, there's like a figure. And it looks like he's reaching his hand out. It looks like a head there. I don't know. It's very unusual.
Right here? That's the hand of Archangel Gabriel.
No. Move over.
You mean
toward-
this
move
right
over
here?
to the right. Move over to the right. Go down. Nope, go down. Yep, move over to the left. Up a little bit. I can't, I wish I could point. I can't point.
Well,
Go
there is
over to-
glass on it, so you actually are seeing like a reflection of people probably
Oh,
too.
maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just looks like, it looks like someone that's like a little boy. It's reaching out from Bunny Ear to the Archangel.
The head of the archangel, I see it.
So just
Over
point it.
here?
Point it.
No, nope.
Okay, go see
No,
up, down, up.
I'm
there.
pointing to it with my arrow, but I don't think you can see it.
So
If you
tell us,
move over to the right of the screen, move over to the right and go up a little. No, you went too far.
okay, go.
Went too
so-
far. Move out, go where Jesus is. Okay, go where Jesus is. Now, if you just go diagonal to the left, upper left, right there, stop. Go down. There's like a little figure there. Do you see it?
Yes.
It's like a little face.
Good boy.
And then there's an arm reaching out. I guess no one else can see it. I'm sorry.
No,
No,
it's
there's
okay.
I see a face.
I mean, I wish
Well-
I could point to it. but I
I'll
can't.
I'll research this some more, and if I can zoom in on it, we'll try to do that for next time.
Yeah. I don't know if I see
It
you, I can
actually-
show you. I took a picture of
Sula,
it.
it actually looks like the folds in the dress that's on her. Like, like, I don't want to say pleated, but just the way the
Right.
folds are.
It drapes down.
I took
Right,
a
great.
picture. I can
That's
show
very-
you.
Father, will
I
you
think I
close
saw
this
what you
in?
were,
With the prayer?
Yes, would you be willing to close this in prayer?
Yes.
before he closed, I have a question for Father
Oh,
Macris.
okay. Go
I know
ahead.
you said you're not good with names, but many, many, many years ago, we had a Macris family here, George Macris. So I don't know if you ever had
I
relatives.
hardly have any family. Both my parents were single children, so I probably have no relationship.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, Amen. Request that God have mercy on us and save us through the sessions of the Most Holy Theotokos, in which we celebrate during this 15 days of August. Thank you for allowing us to share in the place that you came and became incarnate to show how much the Father loves us and how much you love us by becoming incarnate and dying on the cross and rising on the third day. May you make all the pilgrims here tonight present worthy to go to the Holy Land. May you bless the monks and nuns who take care of these holy places. May there be peace in the Holy Land. And may we all be worthy to see not just the Jerusalem, but the New Jerusalem when our lives end. So they could be with you eternally, together with your Father and Holy Spirit. Amen.
One question, can you ask what's the name of the monk who replaced Father Gerasimos on the Mount of Temptation?
And who's a monk who plays
Oh,
Father
Onufrios.
Onufrios?
Onufrios.
Theos. Okay, that
Okay.
was the beard. Okay, thank
Very
you,
good.
Father.
You're welcome.
Well, blessed night, everyone. Thank you.